Pat McGrew, and I'm with the McGrew Group. We are today going to bring you a fabulous session, which we are calling Behind the Workflow Curtain, because we're going to bring it to you from two different directions. We're going to talk to the team from Meteor and Zytron about RIPs and the things that you really need to know there. And then we're going to talk to the team from Solimar Systems about the things that you can do to optimize your files before they ever get near the RIP. And we think that by bringing you these two things in a single session, what you'll be able to take away from that is how taking a couple steps back from your current production workflow and assessing it to see if you've got the right tools in place can help you increase the business that you have right now. Increase your capacity, your flow through, reduce the number of problems that you're dealing with, and add some automation to your environment. Because you know, I believe in automation. So I want to introduce the really cool group of people we have today. We have the lovely Ken Hillier, who is the sales director for North America for Meteor Inkjet. And Ken is bringing years of RIP experience. He previously was the founder of RTI, and that's now part of the Global Graphics Group. And on Ken's right hand today is Drew Nibolovich. I'm not going to get that right, Drew, no matter what I do. And Neil is the new business manager, business development manager for the Zytron RIP piece of the business. And they're going to bring us some great stories. We have Marianne Rowan, who is the chief experience officer for Solimar Systems. She's also a part owner, and she has been in this industry for decades. I won't say how many, and brings years of experience dealing with customers who have problems and working on the, making customers' lives better side of the world. And with her is Jonathan Malone McGrew. And Jonathan is the Senior Director of Engagement for Solimar Systems, and again is spending most of his time working with business partners of Solimar's and with their customers, trying to help them make bigger, better workflows. So we're going to do this in thirds. We're going to start with the Meteor Zytron team, and then we're going to move over to Solimar, and then we're going to bring everybody back together and bring this party home. So Ken, I want to start with you because one of the things that I know is that you've got some really great products that are in the mix that I'm not sure everyone really knows, that there's more to Meteor Inkjet and more to the whole Global Graphics Group than just some bits and pieces. You've got some actual products out there.
Yeah, we do. One of the newer products that we have is called eLab Pro, and it's a RIP, but it's not a typical RIP. This one is developed especially for the needs of industrial inkjet.
And give me a definition on industrial inkjet, because I think some people get confused by that.
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. So, because that can mean different things to different people, right?
It does.
Industrial inkjet being typically very, very high speed. Mm-hmm. And it can be both monochrome or color.
And is it the stuff that's like marking on boxes, or can it be actual like commercial print production as well?
Definitely, yeah. So another application, certainly corrugated, like printing on boxes, just putting barcodes or something, is one thing. But another one is like labels and packaging, where it can be very complex, lots of variable data, things like that.
Okay, and so eLab Pro, how is it different from, say, a typical RIP that you might find in industrial printing?
Well, one of the things that sets it apart is, like I said, about labels and packaging. So we've got, by the way, the RIP can actually be used for lots of different applications, but we have put some special things into it that make it especially useful for labels and packaging. And one of those things that really sets us apart is a big strong point is the screening. Because when you start to image with inkjet at really high speed, lots of funny things start to happen.
That's like, very true.
Yeah, if you print, your ink is liquid, right? You start putting drops.
You're throwing water at paper. You're
throwing little tiny drops on things.
Yeah.
And when you do that fast, it's a whole different world. One of the things is when you print inkjet, on a substrate that is non-absorbent.
And for those of you, substrate means paper, but it also might be vinyl. It also might be Teslin. It could be a whole lot of different, it can be anything that you're trying to get that ink to land on, right?
Yeah, yeah. So something that, when we print on something, we like to call it substrate, that's non-absorbent, what happens is those little droplets kind of puddle up.
Yeah.
And what you end up with is a mottled effect. It looks, some people call it orange peel.
Yep.
And they don't like that. So what we've done is developed a special screen. We call it mirror screening.
Okay.
And it helps to smooth out those drops so that you don't get the puddling or orange peel kind of effect. And that works quite well. People like that.
All right.
The other end of the spectrum is when you print with inkjet at very high speed on the other kind of stuff that's really absorbent, like corrugated, for example. You have a different problem. And the problem that you see there is you get kind of a wood grainy streaking.
Right.
So you don't want that.
Because it absorbs sort of
I don't know what exactly
not smoothly and evenly. Yeah.
I know what it looks like.
Yeah.
And they don't like it. When you want a flat tint and it's got these grainy effects to it, not cool. So we've got another screen called Pearl. And what that does is it helps to smooth it out so that it looks nice and smooth, pretty.
Okay. So if I'm looking at eLab Pro, then basically I have some dials, knobs, levers that I can let the RIP know what it's supposed to be preparing for.
Yep.
Okay. And so what kinds of challenges, I mean, you described, the differences of printing on corrugated versus, things that are more smoother types of surfaces. So do customers understand how to prep their files for those differences? Okay.
But quite often, no. In fact, one of the things, when we get calls from customers, a lot of times they're having trouble and they don't actually need a different product or a change in anything. Mm-hmm. They just don't know which knobs to turn. I like the term earlier. That's exactly what it is. And it's not just at the RIP, because sometimes, and I'm looking forward to hearing from Solimar, because the product that they have fits really well together with what's going on.
Right.
And having, all these different tools in your toolbox is really helpful. But that's the thing with the customer. The first thing is they call up because it's not working. They don't know what to do. So we help them turn this knob, try this one, try that.
Try this lever or try this. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. And then, so I'm assuming that if they become an eLab customer, there's training and you help them understand, like you don't just plan a piece of software and walk away, right?
No.
Right. It's sort of, it becomes a lifelong adventure.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right, because the things they're printing are probably going to change over time too. So it's probably going to be an ongoing set of updates and changes.
Yeah, every day's a new day.
It is, isn't it?
The phone's going to ring and it's going to be something different.
It's absolutely true. So Drew, I think that's where you come in, right? You mentioned earlier that there were a lot of different kinds of jobs and a lot of different job complexities, and that really informs the kinds of things that you have to do around a RIP, so that as you're looking at an eLab Pro type of product and all the supporting firmware or software that informs that, you've got to be keeping your eye on what people are actually printing.
Yes, yeah. It kind of really depends on the market that it's going to be used in, whether it's going to be an offset or flexo, whether we're doing pad printing or screen printing. Those traditional markets, many of those customers that are using the Zytron RIP, they're outputting one set of films, one set of plates, one set of screens, and they're running multiple copies on the press. So it's a rather simple process. But interpretive accuracy and reduced operator intervention are extremely important.
Okay, describe those terms for me, because I think I've heard them before, but I'm not sure everybody understands what interpretive accuracy would be.
Well, placement of images, missing images,
Okay.
being bad, pre-flighting, anything that has to do with pre-flighting.
Okay.
If something goes wrong coming in and it's not caught, once it's on the film or the plate or the screens have been made, that whole process has to start over again. And it's costly, it's time consuming.
Right.
So pre-flighting is definitely a critical part of that market. When you talk about industrial inkjet, it's a different thing, because with the other markets that I just mentioned, speed really isn't an issue, because like I said, we're just producing one typically.
Right.
But on industrial inkjet, we have faster output devices, like what Ken's mentioned. The speeds that these things are moving at.
Yeah, they are taking off miles a minute.
So, and we've got variable data to deal with. Like you mentioned, transactional, printing can be a big part of that.
Right.
We've also got another layer of complexity because devices have multiple colors and multiple layers. So you might have UV, you might have white underbase. So we're also dealing with that.
Multiple spot colors, right? Also
Yes,
a possibility, right?
Yes.
More and more the devices are getting more and more sophisticated. So when you're looking at it, you have to develop a RIP that is staying almost one step ahead of whatever the hardware manufacturers are enabling for their clients.
Yes, definitely. The RIP is constantly advancing. We have things such as scalable RIPs, so we can run multiple RIPs on one system, RIP farms across different hardware, multi-threading within the same system.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of advancements have been made within the variable data processing part of the RIP. Mm-hmm. So they're processing multiple images that are the same across multiple pages. Mm-hmm. We have to pick up that constant data once, and then we're ripping the variable parts.
And what kind of customers are you serving? Are they, Ken mentioned, industrial. So it's this whole range of people who have the freedom to select their RIP.
Yes, a lot of Zytron's market is built around plate setters, image setters, film and plate output devices. But we also get into pad printing, screen printing.
Okay, a little bit of everything.
The industrial inkjet on the DFE side. So
got it. So that kind of makes me wonder, if the RIP is so cool, and it sounds like it really is cool, do I need to worry about really optimizing the file? Because you guys have got it, scalable and stretchable, and it can move in all these different directions. Maybe, having an optimized job doesn't make as much of a difference?
Well, yes, it definitely does. It's kind of the contrary.
Okay.
You have a job that's 120 pages per, file essentially, or 120. Mm-hmm. Or you have a press, let's say, that runs 100. I'm trying to put this together here. A press that runs at 120 pages per minute, and it's a 10,000 page job. Then that would take about 83 minutes to run, kind of at full speed, roughly 80 minutes.
Oh, I like a man who can do math in his head.
Yeah, if the RIP or the digital front end, takes even like a half second longer, then you're talking maybe a 90 minute output time difference, just in one file. Okay. So optimization is highly important on the industrial inkjet side. It's important on both, for different reasons.
Okay. And so one of the things then we know is that eLab Pro and the Zytron range of RIPs have the ability to build you an environment that's the best it can be from the RIP side.
Yes. Yep. I mean, we run into these situations. We've got to analyze everything from the job itself, moving into pre-flighting, then we're dealing with imposition. So there's a lot of different steps before it even gets part of it.
Okay.
When we face these kind of things, we have to analyze. We essentially start at the front end. So we're starting at the job itself,
Okay.
Okay,
I think you've drawn a really great box, but I'm going to tell you that you're not starting at the front end, right? You're starting at the front end of the printing process, but there's stuff that happens first. And so I'm going to jump over to Marion and Jonathan here on the Solimar side for a second. So you've heard about the RIP, right? And so when the RIP can be the best it can be, that's fabulous. But if what do they say? If you don't feed it well, it's not going to produce well. I'm not going to use the sort of colloquial terms about, stuff in and stuff out. So, Marianne, one of the things that Solimar's been working on, because you've heard these same complaints from customers about jobs taking forever to rip and print, is Ready PDF. And full disclosure, folks, I've been in love with this product since they announced it, because I've seen so many customers just struggle with files that are assembled from different places, different things produced the PDF, and now they've got this sort of aggregated file, and it's not really behaving. So, how does Ready PDF play in this environment?
Sure. Thanks, Pat. So really, we go right in front of what we've been talking about here. So we're after composition and we're post-composition, and we optimize files. And we've developed Ready PDF over the last several years, just kind of like constantly updating it. We've always done PDF enhancements, so that's sort of been our legacy for the last 20 or so years. But now our customers, we've been seeing just huge PDF problems with fonts and images, resources, color. And so we actually do a pre-flight, we call it Make Ready. We have a lot of different names for it, but we really optimize the data before it gets to you, the RIP. And we can optimize it for not only print, all different types of print, whether it's cut sheet or inkjet, as well as even E. So really even optimize beyond.
So you don't actually care what's going to consume the PDF on the other side. You're just making the PDF better.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And so for a Ready PDF environment, I know you've been testing it with customers, and you've got customers who have it installed. How do they put it into their workflow? Does it end up sitting sort of in the pre-flight department, or does it sit just as a always running kind of software?
It's kind of both. It can be a standalone pre-press server where we take in, basically we call it ugly PDF, is sort of our marketing slogan for this, and then migrate it into the production. It also can just run ad hoc. So as files come in, we can grab those. And what we do is we build templatized workflows. So it's a one-time setup. And every time we see these files from a certain customer, they typically come in, every day, every week, every month. We see customers with those. We then take those files, fix them automatically, and then put them in the print stream.
So this is the kind of tool that could sit in a number of different departments then, because it even probably a CSR who was well trained could use it to make sure that they're handing stuff over into the production department that's usable. It could be in the pre-press department in a typical commercial workflow. And then it could also be available to production teams that are trying to figure out why something won't run. It produces a report,
exactly.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, you can produce reports, so you can run ahead of time as well. So see how the file looks ahead of time. If the fonts are way off, the images are too large, as we've been speaking about, layering of images and such. A lot of times we see people missing fonts, so we can actually replace pieces that are missing in font sets, and we do caching of resources as well.
Wow. So basically what you're doing is helping them create a much more efficient PDF file.
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so because there are lots of RIPs in the world, I guess once it's more efficient, what a typical printer should see is that they're getting more benefit from the RIP. They're seeing better RIP times and getting into production
Absolutely.
faster.
Absolutely. The RIPs go far better, and the job should process typically far quicker as well.
Right. And so is there any kind of boundary? I mean, are you just as happy looking at pure commercial, like poster work and wide format work, as you are looking at transaction work?
Absolutely. So our legacy is transactional. So the high volume, customer facing variable with super tight, timelines that people have to get their SLAs or their jobs out, 24 hours or 48 hours. But now, of course, we have customers who, of course, do everything. They do the posters, but then they want to take the poster image and then they want to print it as well. So go from a 2400 or 1200 GPI down to 600 which we can easily do with Ready PDF and downsample, as well as then if they want to email it to someone, it really should be about 100 DPI and even RGB. So we can adjust the output based on the desired channel output.
Wow, that I hadn't even thought about that in terms of needing to actually change the resolution. Yeah, you really don't want to be text messaging a 2400 DPI file, right? That's probably not the best idea. So it's not just PDF though, right? I mean, a lot of your story is around optimization of the entire workflow and providing an opportunity for automation in environments that sometimes are a lot of sneaker net and there's a lot of passing of things by hand. So can you talk to me a little bit about how you help that optimization and automation story?
Sure. So we take in, we like to say we emulate thousands of printers, basically almost every IBM printer or Xerox printer ever made, we have a full emulation of. So what that means is we can take all that data in, we typically convert it now into PDF because we optimize it, but then we can drive it out to IPDS, PostScript, PDF, even make TIFF files for some of the older archive systems, for example. So we're really, we've been in this, doing this a long time, but now with the Ready PDF, again, this can drive directly into all kinds of markets. So we see people, especially with inkjet, you have to feed the beast, right? You have to keep it going. So I say go in like a vacuum. What can I bring into my press? Because you have to keep this going. So
they are big, they are fast, and they do have a lot of capacity that needs to be filled. That's absolutely true. So, Jonathan, I know you've talked to a lot of the customers who, as part of your role in engagement, who needed this product and actually have put it in place. And what kind of stories do they tell you about the changes in their workflow as the result of putting a Ready PDF in?
It's a really good question because, there are other optimization suites out there. There's lots of pre-flight. And so what we saw from our customers was a need that developed. And we hold a user conference every year. Ours is a little later this year with everything going on, but it's still hopefully going to happen in September. And what we do is we bring our 28 company user council to that meeting, and we always get direction. And a couple years ago, it was like a light bulb going off. They were sitting in this session talking about how PDF just would not go through their devices, through their processes. It's not just the RIP though, it's other workflow processes that happen from the onboarding all the way through, right? Mm-hmm. So that's how we developed Ready PDF. We saw a need.
Right. And I know that in talking to some of your customers, they had PDF that just wouldn't even process. And you put it through Ready PDF, and now they're actually able to print it. And it sort of speaks to the fact that there are a lot of messy workflows out there, right, that are bringing PDF in from all sorts of places. And when you put them all together, they don't all play well together, right? And so building an optimization program really makes a lot of sense. So is there one particular customer set that Ready PDF applies for, or do you think that anybody with a print device or a CTP device or an e-delivery requirement is a candidate?
Well, you're talking to marketing. So our goal, Marianne and I, is this is a new product. We developed it to handle that high variability, need to get stuff out today kind of workflows. But we really want to test it with grand format, wide format, labels, packaging. And we have customers and beta customers doing that now. It's out, it's released, but we have people all around the globe actually trying to see how this will benefit their workflows. Can they put it into, can they call it from different cloud platforms or whatever? Right. We're very open. We have free trials. We'll test files that don't have any personal information in them. We're very secure over here. But I think the key is that, back to something Marianne said about how you have multiple places that these files might want to go, not all PDF is created equal. It's not always intended for the same output device,
Right.
but it also might not be going out as PDF. And we can help in all of those instances automatedly and in a single step fashion, meaning
Okay.
we can multi-thread everything, do everything at once, so that you aren't like taking your composition system and doing things more manually to create all the different outputs, because we see customers where that adds 20 minutes of process.
So let
We
the
can take that to
composition
20
system do what it
seconds.
wants to do, and then you'll take it from there.
Right. And I mean, think about that, you know, when you're optimizing things and you can see things go from minutes to seconds or 20 minutes
Right.
to seconds. To your point about how we came to this product was we had a customer, you know, trying to run a file. It was taking hours. We got
Right.
it down to minutes. I mean, that's
Wow.
critical today.
Yeah, that's so that kind of brings me to the whole group now. So Cam, when you and I were talking earlier, you had mentioned that, you know, you could see a value proposition for something that would hand you better PDF. As you're hearing Marianne and Jonathan talk about it, what kind of customers do you think would be interested?
Lots of them, especially in the industrial area where we work with stuff that's got to go really fast, and they don't have time to be messing around with it.
Mm-hmm. And are those the kind of customers who would have typically had, you know, I don't want to name other people's products since we're a close family here, but
Yeah.
there are other products in the marketplace that are sort of pre-flight tools, but they don't actually fix the PDF in most cases.
Yeah, sometimes that certainly can happen where a pre-flight will tell you there's a problem, but won't necessarily fix it. Well, that's definitely helpful. At least you know you got
Right.
a problem before you put it on the press
Right.
and run it for 2 hours, and then it's not working properly and you just wasted 2 hours. So
Yeah.
it's nice to avoid that, but definitely the best thing to be able to do is find the problem and fix it before it gets to the rip. So we love it when that can happen. That certainly is better for our customers.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing I was going to mention, can we? I had an example of
Oh yeah,
a
please,
thing that
please.
you know, Solimar. Where were you 2 years ago? We had a customer approach us, one of our OEM customers. They're building a press, and talk about fast. Check this out: 700 feet a minute. That's like 10 feet a second.
Yeah.
600 DPI. Wow. And they want the RIP to keep up with this, running VDP live. So no pre-ripping. We've got to keep up with that.
Right.
They sent us the file, and we tried it, and we were struggling with it. Best we could get was 300 feet a minute. And we can't just make this RIP run at 700 feet a minute. That's cutting it too close. We need to make the RIP way faster than that printer. Oh, wow, what are we going to do? Well, when I got that call from my customer, I did what I've done. I've been working with Drew for a long time, right? I took that job, walked across the hall, and dropped it on his desk and said, Drew, you got to help me with this one. What can we do? What'd you do, Drew?
Okay, Drew, what'd you do?
We started looking into the PDF, optimizing the PDF as best we could. That was the first step. And then we started putting it into scalable RIP. And that's essentially what really started taking down the numbers as well as the pre-flighting. So but we were able
So, and this is one of those cases then, oh, I'm sorry, Drew, go ahead.
No, well, I was going to say we were able to get way out in front of the press, you know.
Because you really do need to be gunning, you know, another half again as fast as the press if you're really going to keep up with it, right?
At least, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And so this is one of those cases where a better PDF file would have helped.
Yeah. We optimized it as best we could, and then, you know, but that definitely does, that plays a critical step in all of this, so.
Well, and what I would say is, you know, the other part to that, what we didn't really mention is, you know, we've got probably up to 4, if not more, pieces of technology under our hood. So we don't just use Solimar-based technology. We work with, you know, Adobe and all sorts of people to make sure that we could bring everything in. But the other part is, you know, you don't have to change out your pre-flight. right? People are really comfortable about the way they do things. The key to Solimar is the modularity. We'll just slide in after that. So your pre-flight process says it has a problem, then route it to Solimar. You know what I mean? And
Got it.
It can be an additive thing.
Got it. Okay, so it sounds like we're in a world now where, because all the devices are going faster, print heads are way faster, higher resolution every time we turn around, right? So a lot of bandwidth being consumed there. Customers want to do more things with this investment that they've made, right? They don't want to be printing the same things they were printing 20 years ago. They're expanding their businesses, right? So they're coming to folks like Ken and Drew to identify how to get the best rip they can in front of their processes, be able to tune them to the different kinds of work that they're going to do. And then this is where Solimar can come in and make sure that what gets fed into that process from Zytron and Meteor and the whole Global Graphics group is as best as it can be, so that you're able to ensure that the RIPs can run at their optimum speeds for the conditions that they've been handed, and do it in a sort of painless way, right? Because with Ready PDF, you're templatizing a lot of that workflow and automating a lot of it to make it as easy as possible. Let humans do what they need to do when they need to do it, but the rest of it you handle in an automated way. We got it? So
right, really, as you spoke before, really not having to do extra work on the composition side, and then not having to do a bunch of work on the DFE to do. We see a lot of people messing on the DFE. Well, the press isn't going, right? If you're changing things over there, where we can change color profiles for you ahead of time and hand you a nice clean file, as Drew was speaking to, to directly go ahead and do it all ahead of time and save not only time with SLA, but time to keep up with the printer and, of course, get in front of the printers and presses.
great.
So exactly what we do. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for everybody who's listening, who's heard this story, and this sounds like exactly what you need, and I'm thinking that a lot of people are going to think this sounds like exactly what they need. Ken and Drew, how do they get a hold of you guys if they need more information on eLab Pro and the range of RIPs that you can supply?
Yeah, thanks. So I work for Meteor. Excuse me. I work for Meteor Inkjet, and you can contact me through our website, meteorinkjet.com.
Great. And Drew, how do we find you?
Our website is Zytron.com. That's probably the best place to get in touch with.
Xitron.
Yes, sorry. Yes, yeah.
I only
It's
do
important
that
to spell it
because
out, yes.
years and years and years ago, when I first became familiar with Zytron, I kept looking for Z's and it didn't work so well. So,
No, thank you for that.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Xitron. Okay, great. And again, Meteor and Zytron, they're part of the Global Graphics group, who you probably all know from the Harlequin RIP, right? That's one of their big claims to fame, and a lot of their new tools that are out. And Marianne and Jonathan, how do we find Solimar? One of you.
Oh, okay. Yes. Well, Jonathan and I, easy to find us. We have, solimarsystems.com. So that's all kind of one word, SOLIMAR systems.com. We also have a DL that Jonathan and I share called CAC@solimarsystems.com. And that's for our Customer Advisory Council. It's just an easy way to get both of us at the same time.
Okay, great. And everybody's on LinkedIn, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, great. So don't forget to reach out on LinkedIn as well. From the recording, you should see the spelling of everybody's names in the corner. Drew, you're going to be the problem child on this one, but I think you already know that one. So hopefully people will reach out on LinkedIn as well. And, their messaging feature is a great way to build the conversation up as well. I want to thank everybody. It's always hard to get onto a group Zoom thing when you don't really know the other people, and you guys have been fabulous, and I think you told a great joint story. So I want to thank you very much. And with that, we're going to hand it back to the team at the event. And thank you again. Again, I'm Pat McGrew Group, and we've been delighted to share the secrets behind the workflow curtain.